If you don't already know, I'm a huge movie buff. I absolutely love going to the movie theaters. There's nothing like getting the opportunity to sit down with a big hot tub of buttery popcorn, a huge quality screen in front of you, incredible audio just hitting you in the ears, pulling at those heartstrings at just the right moment, sort of thing. The whole movie theater experience is unlike any other, honestly. And while I personally fare pretty well with the movie theaters, one franchise that seemingly has its hiccups is the Power Ranger franchise. That's one of the reasons as to why I personally think when it comes to Hasbro's reboot of the Power Ranger movie, why maybe going to a streaming service is the better option, guys. Let's get into it. Now look, the undeniable truth is that when it does come to the box office, Power Rangers has had its struggles, to certainly say the least. Outside of the 1995 Power Ranger movie that was made for a $15 million budget, wind up bringing in $66 million, it was actually looked at as a pretty financial success, if you will. But after that movie, guys, to be honest with you, Power Rangers has struggled. Power Rangers Turbo is a blip on the radar that people want to try and forget sometimes. The 2017 Power Ranger movie, while mixed reviews, still leaning towards the positive side, but unfortunately that positivity didn't transfer over into the box office numbers as it barely broke even, if that, unfortunately. So guys, it does make me certainly beg the question, why would a company want to go ahead and risk that opportunity again to invest millions of dollars in a movie that just recently flopped financially at the box office? Is the 6 to 7 year time period between films enough time for the consumer to get the previous taste out of their mouth to all of a sudden now trust that the next Power Ranger movie is certainly going to be any better? I certainly don't know, and for this particular reason is why I think when it comes to Hasbro's Power Rangers, we may be seeing the next installment straight to a streaming service. Now, look, we can honestly just get the negative out of people's mindsets already, okay? Just because it goes to a streaming service still means that the movie can certainly be good. While I personally would love the opportunity to see Power Rangers on the big screen again, the franchise certainly has to prove itself once again, honestly. Now, not every streaming service movie out there is absolutely terrible. When it comes to the 2020 pandemic, unfortunately, it really made people have to look at experiencing the movies in a whole completely different light. Not being able to go out to the movie theaters anymore, social distancing and things like that. People had to certainly get creative in finding a way to go ahead and let their movies continue to reach out to millions of people. And because of the pandemic, I think it certainly has forced us to view the movie-going experience certainly differently. And so while we didn't get a lot of movies when it came to 2020 in the movie theaters, they still managed to go ahead and release these films. And so we shouldn't look at a movie being released streaming service per se as a negative or as a death sentence to the movie automatically being bad. This past year, Netflix itself actually had a few films that were among the Oscar nominations, and that also includes Amazon Prime movies, also I'm sure HBO Max movies also as well. So when it comes to the idea of a Power Ranger movie going to a streaming service, I don't find it that hard to believe that they could still make a very quality movie to go ahead and continue to build out this franchise that they certainly have in mind. The fact is that we find ourselves in the middle of a streaming war. You've got companies that are outbidding each other for some of the best, newest quality content that's certainly out there these days. When you have to compete against brand new streaming services like an HBO Max or a Disney Plus that can literally create their own content and then release it right on their streaming service to continue to make that income, no middleman whatsoever, there are plenty of other streaming services out there that don't have that same opportunity. And so you have people like an Amazon, like a Netflix, that while certainly are dominant in the streaming wars, you certainly have to compete. And so we have countlessly times seen Netflix pay a ton of money for exclusive rights or the opportunity to go ahead and have a new cinematic universe airing on their streaming service, right? It's all about catching that next hottest thing, if you will. The the idea of Power Rangers having fresh new content that's out there. These streaming wars are currently raging. It is the new wave of the future, if you will, and everybody certainly wants some of the hottest content out there, and Hasbro finds itself in a really prime position to get a franchise that has lasted 28 plus seasons. And even if people aren't aware of the 27th season or the 27 other seasons that came out of Mighty Morphin, you have Mighty Morphin that still continues to at least have its imprint in pop culture society today. So it's still very much is out there and about in the world, and if you can capture that type of franchise when it comes to Power Rangers and have it on your streaming service, I think that's gold. I think that's just money waited to be printed, to be quite honest with you. So this is how it would work, right? The idea would be to sell the film to a streaming service who will then more than likely pay a little bit over what the cost of the actual production of the film would be, so that they would actually either break even or maybe overpay to where they would wind up making a profit back from that movie. And then I'm assuming they would probably use that money to other television series for Power Rangers that they're trying to produce, and who knows how successful it could certainly be, especially if you have a film that's dropping to a streaming service and then potentially a series that might actually roll out of that particular streaming service film as well, to also be able to have a home. So the big question certainly would be, is this gonna happen? Well, again, this certainly is not confirmed. This is just my certain speculation and theory as to why I definitely think this is more than fathomable to actually happen. So let me go ahead and bring up two articles for you guys here, okay? Just to add a little bit more to where my thinking is certainly going here. All right, let's go back to 2020. Just as of last year, this comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter, October 20th, 2020. It says the move comes as Entertainment One, the production banner acquired by Hasbro in late 2019, becomes more active in the development and the production of adaptations of Hasbro-based brands. A Power Ranger feature was previously developed by Entwistle at Paramount, but now the reins have been taken by Entertainment One, while Entwistle's involvement will deepen. It says Entwistle will act as a conductor of a connected story universe that will bridge multiple platforms. Now listen, when they say bridge multiple platforms, if you want to put movie theaters in that sense, you certainly can. But when I think of platforms, I do think of like streaming platforms like Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Paramount Plus, right? The idea of having a connective universe that maybe bridges over several different streaming services. But you could put multiple platforms as a movie theater being an additional platform that it gets to showcase its movie to. But I'm definitely thinking maybe that's leaning towards streaming service. I also find it very fascinating that Entertainment One moved, or Hasbro moved, the Power Ranger movie from Paramount to Entertainment One. And the reason why I say that is, let me go ahead and bring you a second article, guys. This second article also comes from the Hollywood Reporter rather recently, also as of April 27th of this year. So April 27th of this year, it says Paramount's Snake Eyes and G.I. Joe origin movie is set to release July 23rd, which Entertainment One, if I'm not mistaken, I think might have helped on as well. It says Paramount and Entertainment One are also moving ahead on an movie adaptation of Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is another Hasbro property, tags teaming with Entertainment One and Paramount for yet a second movie theater release. While E1, as Hasbro's entertainment studio, is developing new film and TV adaptations of the Power Ranger property. I find it fascinating, again, this is just me, and Entertainment One has released movies of their own, I'm quite sure. But I find it interesting that you have Paramount that's doing a Snake Eyes movie, Paramount that's also doing Dungeons and Dragons, but when it comes to Entertainment One working with Power Rangers, that kind of makes me feel like the Paramount stuff is maybe getting those theatrical runs, whereas Entertainment One, now that it's no longer attached, will maybe be focused in just streaming services. and maybe that's where those films will certainly be dropped. So those are some of my lines of thinking, just based off of the two articles that we wind up getting, and just honestly the financial risk I feel like is maybe too much. I just don't know the idea of, after just getting a brand new movie of Power Rangers in 2017, if the right decision is 5 to 6 or however many years it'll be, what is that, 6 to 7 years since the previous movie, if maybe doing it in the movie theaters is maybe the smartest idea. I think it's risky. I think it's risky to be able to blow up in your face again. And instead of coming out like Lionsgate and Saban saying we've got 3 other movies or 7 other sequels planned, or however many they certainly had, the non-success of their movie in the box office really crushed a lot of those ideas. And so I think if you put it on a streaming service, not only is it safer, it's less risky. Whoever's going to be bidding for this content is more likely going to go ahead and overpay, because of the fact that you're bringing in literally a 28-year-old franchise that somehow, even on some of the kids networks and Nickelodeon, is still hanging on for dear life, sort of thing. And now you want to inject it with fuel and hopefully bring it certainly back to life. I definitely do think that there are streaming providers that will overpay for this movie, because not only are you overpaying for the movie, but I guess you're kind of actually paying for the continuation of this franchise and continue to build it on your platform. So I do think that little signs like the Dino Fury being picked up by Netflix is a way of showcasing, like, hey, we have a trusted relationship with Netflix maybe going forward. So maybe Netflix will certainly land it. Maybe an Amazon will certainly land it. Who definitely knows? But there certainly are options. And I think the safer and I think the more modern take on Power Rangers would really work in the streaming service world when you are trying to build a cinematic universe, if you will, and at least keep that all in home with you. So that's one of my reasons as to why I certainly believe that when it comes to the Power Ranger film by Hasbro, we will be getting it as a streaming service. Again, a streaming service film. Again, this is not confirmed. Nobody has come out and outright said this. This is just simply my speculation off just of where I see some of the articles talking about, where I see just television and the streaming world and just movies as general. Listen, as big as the box office is right now, right? A Quiet Place 2 certainly leaving an imprint on the box office. The pandemic easing a little bit, right? Easing a little bit, but people are going back out once again. AMC is, raring to go, if you will. Cinemark's getting ready to open back up if they haven't fully yet. So I'm pretty sure the box office will continue to get bigger. I'm sure people will just go to movies just to see movies right now. But when this movie winds up dropping, is that a risk that Hasbro certainly wants to take? And I just don't think that they certainly do. But again, this is just simply my A+ opinions. At the end of the day, I want to know your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think about the idea of Power Rangers possibly going to a streaming service? Again, I would prefer it on the big screen because I love that experience, guys. There's nothing like it. But if you're trying to get modern, if you're trying to do something as big of a cinematic universe that you want guaranteed to have your story told, if you will, if you want to make sure financially you're at a better chance of recouping what you put into it, I think streaming services is certainly the way to go, guys. But again, that's just my A+ opinions. I want to know yours. Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, definitely go ahead and continue this conversation in the comment section if you like. And listen, if you love the content here, if you love what you heard, hit that like button. It goes a long way. And follow us on social media, guys. A+ opinions, very active over on Twitter, along with our main page, which is our Facebook page. But other than that, guys, subscribe to our channel, hit that bell notification, and we'll certainly see you guys next time. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and as always, keep it A+. Bye.